Today we're going to be looking at evaluating algebraic expressions. So go ahead and open your notebook up to the next available page, and you can put today's date at the top of your page. And then we are in topic 3, lesson 5, evaluate algebraic expressions. And please remember to pause the video or rewind it if you need to go back or if it's going too fast. So we've talked about algebraic expressions. They're expressions that have variables and numbers and operations. And so today we're going to evaluate or solve them. So to evaluate algebraic expressions, you're going to replace the variable with its value. Then use the order of operations or gems to solve. And I'm going to put GEMS in parentheses as a reminder of the acronym. So really, everything you've already learned, it's now we're just kind of putting it together. So we're going to take a look at a few examples, but before we do, just kind of a reminder of the order of operations. It's kind of nice to have this at the top of your page. Remember, the G in GEM stands for grouping symbols, so that could be, for example, parentheses, brackets, absolute value, braces, and so forth. The E is exponents, so something like 4 squared. M is multiply and divide from left to right, and S is subtract and add from left to right. So let's take a look at some examples. So for this first one, if we have 5x minus 12 plus x. Right now I can't really solve this expression because I don't know what x is. However, if I tell you that x equals 8, now what we can do is actually solve the expression. So it's important that you show all your steps here, just kind of like how we did with order of operations. The only difference is the first step, you need to replace the value of, or replace the variable with its value. So I'm going to take 8 and I'm going to plug it in wherever I see an x. So remember 5x means 5 times x. So I'm going to think of this as 5 times 8 minus 12 plus x, which means plus 8. And now I just use order of operations. So now I can say, okay, 5 times 8, well, that equals 40. And I'm going to copy down the rest of the problem. Now I add and subtract from left to right. So 40 minus 12 would give me 28. And then I'm just left with addition, and 28 plus 8 is 36. So there's nothing really new here. It's more so you're just finding the value of the variable that's given to you and plugging it into the expression. Let's look at another algebraic expression. For this one, we have 2 times w, and then the quantity, w squared, plus 16, closed quantity, minus w, and that's if w equals negative 3. Okay, so first step, plug in the value for your variable. So now I have 2 times the quantity. Instead of w squared, I'm going to have negative 3 squared plus 16, closed quantity, minus w. So instead of w, I'm going to have negative 3. So you see in this problem we have grouping symbols, and in the grouping symbols I have an exponent and addition. So exponents come first. So negative 3 squared is the same as negative 3 times negative 3. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply that out. Since a negative times a negative is a positive, that would be 9. So now I have 2 times the quantity, 9 plus 16, closed quantity, minus negative 3. Okay, so next thing here, I've got to finish up my grouping symbols. So I'm going to add 9 plus 16, which would give me 25. And I have multiplication and subtraction. Multiplication comes first. So 2 times 25 is 50. And then I'm going to rewrite this as adding the opposite. So instead of 15 minus instead of 50 minus negative 3, I can think of this as 50 plus 3, which would just be 53. Okay, let's look at one last example here. So for this last one, we have 1/4 d minus 12 plus 36 if d equals negative 80. Okay, so first step, I'm just going to plug in the value for the variable. So now I have 1/4 multiplied by negative 80 minus 12 plus 36. So multiplication comes first in this problem. And so basically I'm taking 1/4 of negative 80. I know my answer is going to be negative. And if I take 1/4 of 80, that's just 20. So this would be negative 20. And then I still have minus 12 plus 36. So now I'm going to add and subtract from left to right. So I'm going to start with subtraction. If it helps you, you can rework it out off to the side. So I'm going to think of this as negative 20 plus negative 12. Since I'm adding two negatives, I need to add their absolute value. That would give me 32 and keep the negative. So now I have negative 32 plus 36. Since they're different signs, I need to subtract their absolute value and keep the sign of the larger number, or the larger absolute value. So we end up with positive 4. Okay, so as you can see in this lesson, there's really nothing new that we're learning. It's more so just applying what we already know to plugging in the value of the variable into the expression so that you can evaluate the expression.